So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of
yeah. Hello, children. You already know, man.
Back at it. Back at it.
Your BCN best expat escapologist are here. It's me, Lucas. Hey, everybody, what's up? And my boy.
I'm Rob Solves America Bobby from the Bronx, Biden's burner account, a different kind of Democrat, and we're recently frameworking Woke Jesus.
Woke Jesus, and also, well, protein bar-breathed Rob as well, because I just let one rip by my mouth.
It's
okay.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
But I went this way, but the AC blew it to my brother. I apologize in the name and the power of the name. No, you guys, we have titled this, or I guess I threw the title on as the Epstein files are released. And so here in our little safe haven of Barcelona and what we call the beautiful bubble away from the United States of America, the beautiful country from which we hail and where we're born, in this safe harbor of Europe, today on the pod, we're doing a total fucking breakdown and catch up, and, you know, a bit of a bitch fest as well about the goings-on in the U.S. because so much has happened over the last... Well, we haven't been on in a few weeks. We've had a lot of ish going on.
Studio happenings. It's been a while for the studio, and it's been a while for us to update. We've been doing a lot of expat file stuff, which we'll keep you updated on. But the thing that I wanted to do most of all that we haven't done yet... We've talked about this, we've mentioned it here and there, but we've never actually discussed, between you and I and our audience, the Epstein atrocities, the Epstein files, the Epstein emails.
It's a historical breakdown,
built
man.
up. For the length of our show, and the which was set off by the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, he has had this wart sticking to him the entire time, called Jeffrey Epstein, and it's not just sticking to him, it's sticking to so many of the most powerful people in the world, and we just have to talk about it. We have to get into this. I have to just work it out in my head and through my voice and talk with you about it and bounce ideas off of you.
I wonder what the cognitive dissonance is that he would be going on and on about this. These idiots in the Republican Party would be going on and on about this for so long when it's so obvious. So obvious. And I did a breakdown, so if everyone will give me just a hit, just a moment down.
Because we're witnessing a cover-up. That's why I'm so interested in it. We're witnessing 1,000 FBI agents being taken off their actual jobs to go look for Trump's name in these files. We're witnessing a lot of different ways. The Pam Bondi closing the case, reopening the case. The files are on my desk. There's nobody in them.
That heifer is going to get... Sorry for interrupting. Do you think that heifer's going to get fired? And did you see Cash? Now, we already know he got the crazy eye, because that motherfucker's got some crazy eye. But...
Yes. My short answer, yes.
The way he's focused when she was speaking, and there was a moment of a loop there. And if anybody caught that, I'm sure everybody did 11:11 on the clock as I'm saying this. So pay attention, children. She kept saying, they asked her what caused the release of this.
New
information. It was the information. A lot of information. We'll get information. We'll
follow the law. New information. We'll follow the law. Like a robot. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
And something is going on there with inference, and I think everybody will know. In fact, we didn't even finish the intro. Can we give a mad shout out to the people that are going to be zipping in here in just a little bit as well?
It's so infuriating.
It is infuriating, and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum where we just got sidetracked. That has nothing to do with ADHD, children of the corn, late stage diagnosis. But at the same time, we do have our
Mark
Democrats
Dabong
abroad.
is coming in,
Mark Dabong
my
is coming
fellow
in.
volunteer and former stand-up comedian himself.
And I believe he's a DA Spain secretary, if I'm not mistaken,
Treasurer,
as well.
and he's done a lot of help with us on protest and getting stuff together, but he's here in his personal capacity, as I am and you always are.
Yes.
We don't speak for any employers, any
No, we
organizations we
don't.
work for. These are our opinions, stone cold, raw, and real. And we should bring him in any minute because we have a secondary guest following up, the
Hails
great...
to the Professor Nancy Goldstein, and also local
Stand-up
Barcelona comic. Exactly. And she's also been running, what is it called? Previewing some of her work as well in London. And in fact, one of her beautiful friends is visiting us from London. I don't know if she's going to be here in the studio. I doubt it. But we got a lot to talk about with her because we're going to be breaking down some stuff as well as when the three of New Yorkers are here together. We're going to be talking about Mamdani. Now, if everybody knows, the communist, jihadist, socialist, what else has he been called?
Also, every nasty name in the book that you can call somebody. Visited Trump.
No, exactly, in the Oval Office yesterday. And I do want to say that Kanks McTaco Tits, to shout out to my bitches.
He's the Piggy POTUS Empty Promises president.
And Kank McTaco Tits. That mother effer was sitting down the entire time. And while Mamdani was there, I was thinking, it is a perfect height level for what Chupador Trump is apparently. I'm not going to let it go. Apparently, according to Mark Epstein, who is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, and he's been all over the Al Gore's interwebs, he came out to say that there was a phone call, email that was intercepted or released in the Epstein files between him mentioning jokingly to his brother that does Vladimir Putin has the picture of DJT sucking off Bubba.
Something along those lines.
No, I'm not letting it go. It go. Because when he came back twice to reiterate this, just before this weekend, just before we're shooting right now, he's come back on two other things. He said, I just want to reiterate, this has nothing to do with Bill Clinton, who has also been known to be called Bubba.
Right, because Ghislaine Maxwell's horse is also named Bubba.
Exactly. But then there's also another donor or something who is called Bubba. But it doesn't matter. Either way, he did not say it didn't happen. All he reiterated and rectified was that it was not Bill Clinton.
Right.
Or the horse.
I mean, as much credit as we give to the brothers of international pedo sex traffickers, sure. And he's being interviewed on a lot of alt media channels right now. But I don't know, man. The internet blew up with the Bubba thing. We can start one way, we can start the other way, but the Bubba thing
I'm also
going to
say this. The way he does his jerk-off dance, the way he filleted a microphone.
During the campaign, he literally did that.
Campaign, yes,
he
you can look it up,
microphone.
Folks. If you don't believe me, look it up. He has also been known to not once but twice go on and on about Arnold Palmer's the size of his penis.
Let me interrupt you there. The way he went on about Arnold Palmer's penis is a lot like the way he looked at Mamdani yesterday. They've similar infatuation, similar love. It
makes sense that someone who suffers from severe, overt narcissistic personality disorder and has sexual inclinations towards horrible proclivities would also want to suck a dick.
Right. Or say he was $50 million in debt and some of these mega rich people, as a joke, back when he was nobody, said, hey, if you blow this guy, we'll wipe your debt. Of course, Donald Trump, the sociopathic businessman, would say, yeah, that's worth it. I'll take a shot in the mouth. Of course he would. Of course he would. Of course Donald Trump would say that. So that's the thing why it took over so much. Because it's not, you can't say this is an impossible thing. You can't say it is impossible that Donald Trump
Exactly. And that's what's crazy, everybody.
Right. Like,
this is the president of the United States of America.
If you said, is it possible that Mamdani blew Bill Clinton? I'd say no. Completely impossible. Mm-hmm. Never happened. I can't even believe that. When the internet takes over a meme and memeifies something, it's grown into such its own thing. And here's the thing. It's probably not true. I can't say it's definitely not true.
Which is the crazy thing.
And the guy's still lying about the 2020 election. So we're going to joke about him blowing Bill Clinton a little while longer.
You already know, and we're going to throw that out there like
Let's get to our guest, maybe.
Yes, is he there?
Yes, he's waiting on the line. We got Mark waiting on the line for us. Let's just get our...
And that was probably an interesting, if somewhat crude, intro to you, my friend.
Absolutely. But he's a former stand-up comedian, so he should get it better than anyone else.
I think so. In fact, Sir Mark, are you there by chance? I'm going to try and get this right on video.
Mm-hmm. any second right now as to avoid dead air. We brought a couple guests on because the Epstein episode needed other perspectives. We needed to talk to people.
I mean, Rob actually made an Epstein Bible on a
Kind of,
Google
yeah.
Doc
I'm
thing.
working on it because we're going to continue this. This doesn't end today. We have to talk a lot about this. Like
The master files from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein is not a joke.
Chase, I want to talk more about Chase Bank and Deutsche Bank and Bear Stearns investing in 40% of Epstein's misdoings.
Well, Epstein did work for Bear
evil
Stearns
deeds.
for years.
They had 40% of his company, and then during the 2008 financial collapse, the Federal Reserve facilitated the Chase buyout of Bear Stearns, if you remember. So Bear Stearns is one of those companies that you maybe want to see the executives on a guillotine because their entire portfolio was Jeffrey Epstein and subprime mortgages. Like, you can't really think of a company doing worse shit ever. But they facilitated their buyout by J.P. Morgan Chase. And remember, J.P. Morgan Chase wasn't doing the legally mandated reporting of suspicious money transfers and activities relating to Jeffrey Epstein for years
Now,
and
all
years
of this
and years.
was during the Bush administration?
No, 2008. So the 2008 collapse is when the Federal Reserve facilitated the buyout of Bear Stearns by J.P. Morgan Chase, and then after that, J.P. Morgan Chase had him as a client, and them under their umbrella, of course.
Okay.
And they're rich. They have specific departments to deal with rich clients.
Yeah.
And their private client this and that. Well, they legally were mandated, as every bank is, to report, over $10,000 withdrawals
Of
and
course.
deposits since 9/11, or suspicious wire transfers, cash withdrawals. These are all laws, ironclad laws that banks are supposed to follow. And Chase gave a little exception for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein for years and years, and they paid a little fine. They paid just a little fine. It was a big fine, but for them, a little
This
fine.
has to indicate something that, and I'm not sure. Eduardo, ¿está ahí?
No, he's not here?
Ah, el enlace. Okay, so we're having a bit of a problem with the link, apparently.
Oh, no.
Maybe we tell him if it's a Mac, it's best to use Google Chrome. But sorry, I just also want to say that
He says
for
he's there.
years, and I do mean for years, there have been some speculative rumors that he was a CIA informant, possibly working for the government of Israel as well.
Assad, you mean?
And
Yeah, I don't actually I didn't dig into that specific portion where his connections to intelligence agencies could be there. I could see why they would do that because, as the emails revealed, he is a little bit of connections to Vladimir Putin's Russia as well. They talked about the emails that if during the campaign. They played a lot of Jeffrey Epstein and who's Trump's three-sweatered mongrel friend? Steve Bannon. So Steve Bannon and Epstein were in regular conversations.
And this is another thing that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Steve Bannon and Wolf, what's his name? Michael Wolf?
Michael Wolff, the
author.
journalist who's got a little suspicion on him now, including a high-ranking reporter for the New York Times.
Well, okay, that is suspicious. Let's talk about it. I believe that
We have
Sir
Mark
Mark
Filey,
is here.
yes!
Are you there now, though? Are you there, dear?
Hey!
Hey, man. Sorry about that. And unfortunately, I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear us, man?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect, yes.
I can hear you.
We got
There we
you.
go. Can you hear me now? Oh, my God. Are
you
we
hear
doing
me?
a Verizon thing right now?
Yeah.
Hey.
Can you hear me now?
Welcome
Probably.
to the way shit works
Probably.
now, man. I'm sorry that we've just been on a diatribe as we were waiting for the
As you should.
rectification.
You're coming in hot. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
There's a lot happening right now.
It's
There's a
insane.
lot happening right now.
It's insane.
I'm Mark Dabong. I'm here in my personal capacity, but I'm a board member and treasurer for Democrats Abroad Spain. I'm a lawyer back in the U.S., but I live in Barcelona now with my family.
Wow.
So it's great to be here, gentlemen. It's great to see you guys.
So I would love you to also dive a little bit into just a little hint for us that you have a
Sure.
stand-up comedy background, don't you?
I did a long time ago before I had children. Back when I was cool,
Yeah.
I did stand up comedy for a bit. It was fun. Nothing, I didn't make it. It never paid my bills, but it was an enjoyable way to pretend. It's an enjoyable way to package my more stupid thoughts into a more polished format. Basically, I polished turds. for a living. And those turds being my own opinions.
So you were just more open mic night kind of thing. Were you traveling?
No, I traveled a little bit. Did it at a few places. Never headlined like a weekend, like a traveling weekend, but open for some folks and made a little bit of scratch.
Not bad, not
at it.
bad. Yeah, I tell you,
Not bad, not bad.
I don't like that he just said that becoming a father made him not cool anymore. But your kids are not going to like that later, but you think that's true.
well, not as cool.
No, they don't think I'm cool at all. They don't think
Right.
I'm cool at all. Like
Yeah.
there's the nature of cool changes, and it actually relates, to politics a little bit. Like one of the challenges we've got, just in general, just as a country, an electorate, and like an international democratic citizenry, is that you have a choice at all times. That do you chase the most recent fad, or do you look for something eternal that you can hold on to? And it sounds the way I've just phrased that makes it sound like chasing fad is not the way you go. You go for something more eternal. But to flip it, there's a desire to stick with what you know at all times, and that's negative as well. Like there's new things happening. There's new folks. There's the amount of pushback that for example, some parts of the Democratic Party had for the new New York mayor is significant. Like people don't like change, and sometimes it's substantively valid, and sometimes it's a preference. And when we talk about whether or not you're cool, a lot of ways the story about what is cool and what is correct, like they dovetail with each other. They're analogous to each other. So.
Well, you're never going to be cool to your... I don't know any parents that are ever cool to their kids, and I feel like it's a problem.
My dad used to be effing cool. Let me tell you, my friends would say, but something's happened since he retired in the last few years. He's not a Trumper, but he's that energy.
Lucas's dad went all in on the manosphere in his retirement age.
Jordan Peterson, the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole works.
Stoicism, and so it made him not cool. As a couple of things, but he's still a badass dad. I can't lie.
Yeah,
but
the manosphere is an interesting question, right? Because you mentioned that he went into Stoicism. So there's nothing inherently manosphere-ish about Stoicism
at all,
right? Like Stoicism,
true Stoicism.
It's
true Stoicism.
Well, true. There's what is true, right? Like there's
going back to Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Not where it was about also the betterment of the surroundings.
Right. But the nature of Stoicism is Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all those cats. They always decried the modern world, right? Like the nature of Stoicism is to say there used to be a truer Stoic behind me, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's the nature of the manosphere. And again, I think about this a little bit, right? You guys probably do as well. But you think about the nature of what it means to be strong, and in a way, it's kind of a response to the fact that the world there's a lot less anchor points, right? Like when we were growing up, I was born in '78. When I was growing up, there were 9 channels, right? I got 3 of them well, right?
Yeah.
And so the amount of information you got was easy to digest. The amount of anchors you had was easy to digest because mass media was smaller. The people you knew were smaller in terms of geographic extent, right? Like I had my immediate family, I had the people in my neighborhood, people at school, and then I had farther relatives, further afield. But then other than that, like you didn't have to worry about where you set your anchor, right? There weren't a million anchor points. And I think one of the things the manosphere is at least in part a reaction to is what we call bravery, what we call manhood, what we call strength has so many anchor points now. And these guys peddle an idea of those things that is manageable. There's only 2 anchor points. There's only 3 anchor points. Like you can handle this, and everyone else is wrong. And I think that's why that's alluring. Maybe not. I don't know about to your dad, Lucas, or not. But I think one of the things that's alluring for a lot of folks is I don't have to remember 9 different ways of approaching the world. I don't have to remember a dozen different ways of approaching the world. I can remember 1 or 2. And that is a lot more manageable. As I get older, I don't change all my clothes look the same. If we record this podcast yesterday or tomorrow, I would look exactly the same. Like they all look the same because I don't want to have to spend the energy to refigure out a new outfit every day. And in a way, I think that's kind of what's happening with the Manosphere folks. They are asked to incorporate a lot of information and a lot of viewpoints, and we're societally we're not equipped to help people do that.
Well, I really would like to
I
get
think
in
that's
here.
a
I
good
really need
point.
to get in here
Yeah.
because
Go.
I don't know if I fully agree. I understand what you're coming from.
That's fair.
I
That's
believe that there is an element where it's not even a matter of where you're getting the viewpoints. It's the fact that because men have never been fully pushed into understanding emotional, mental, and spiritual health, they are vapid within. They've also been given most of everything that they've taken from
Yeah.
this world. And so they never had to build that DNA within themselves. And so what we have is a bunch of bullshit motherfucking artists. Men, mostly, and the majority of them are heterosexual.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that shit. And they have come to a point where they don't even have to demonstrate anything because everything's been given to them. And we really see this problem in Spain. And
Right.
and I have to deal with this, especially on a younger person's level with a bunch of university students. And the shit is real.
Yeah.
And I think what we have not provided these weak-ass men who have not suffered as much as other people have is the fact that, oh, it's okay, poor things. I mean, it's represented even on entertainment. Like when you look at the White Lotus, the first season where the mother says, it's been really hard for white boys these days. And I'm like, no, bitch. And this, I mean, and
I know
so
what you mean. There's
I
a
think-
coddling. There's
yes,
a
but
coddling, an
it needs to
institutionalized
stop.
coddling.
And I don't think that, and I got to say, I do not spend my time thinking about, am I a strong man? I fucking know I am because I've got my
Right.
emotional, spiritual, and emotional shit always in check. I have to.
I think both points aren't really in
That's right.
contrast. I think it makes perfect sense what he's saying and what you're saying, that people have farmed out their critical thinking and people are used to. That's why we get you have this sort of media understanding that, you know, white guys can only be failed by the system. They can't fail. And that there is this institutional coddling that I've kind of noticed
Yes.
in my time. And it hasn't helped me get rich, but I've understood that there's a benefit of the doubt that doesn't exist maybe for you or Mark that would exist for me
in which way?
institutionally.
And I'm sorry, but apparently no one is at the bottom of the door at the building, so someone can't get in.
Oh boy.
But we'll fix that in a minute.
That's
What do you
fair.
mean by that?
And there's that's a commentary on economic wealth as well. No one can get in the bottom door. But go on, keep going.
Yeah, right. It's everything everything connects. We're doing the weave here
Everything
on the way
connects,
shit works.
right.
So listen, Mark, I wanted to why we got you here initially is because the news has been exploding with Epstein's and Epstein information and Epstein emails and Epstein files and Epstein. And I just have my take on this is that as a different kind of Democrat, a proud Democrat, that our party is now doing more than anyone in power ever has to expose this conspiracy, to expose this horrific global pedophilia ring. And I'm very proud of the work that we're doing here. There was a discharge petition that only 4 Republicans signed, and one's out of Congress by January.
Oof.
But every single
Reverend
Democrat
mentioned.
signed, and the entire Republican Party was fully willing to keep the cover-up going through Congress, through the Department of Justice, through the Trump White House. And I'm just so happy that we blew the lid off of this thing. Now, obviously, the Trump administration is going to do what they do, but it is going to be a problem for the Trump administration. So this hot potato of global pedophile ring cover-up is literally in the laps of the Donald Trump administration. And I just was super interested to understand your takes and your perspective on what we've been seeing lately.
I mean, it's so I'm going to preface this with a caveat, which is, you know, as a lawyer, and given that the case is ongoing, there's a part of me that wants to not comment too much on the substance
Fair.
of it, right?
Fair
Because and I think that's fair, right? But I said there is definitely something there, right? And that there are multiple cases of survivors and abuse victims who've been talking about this. And while any one particular person is still, you know, the jury is out literally and figuratively in some cases on whether any one particular person is involved, I think that there is something disturbing in this, which is the widespread desire to cover this up. In this case, it's by the Republican Party. And I am proud of the folks that did vote to open this out.
That's right.
I think in order to be fair, though, is that this has been happening for a while. Like this, you know, I spent a number of
Decades.
years working for legal aid in their domestic violence division. And the amount of people, not just men, not just Republicans, not just people in power, but the amount of people that are willing to excuse abuse
Yep.
is horrendously high. And it is and Lucas, if you had a comment, I want to make sure to pause so you get a chance.
No, just what's
to
her
say
name
that.
said that it's okay to fuck 15-year-old girls.
Megan
Megyn
Kelly
Kelly.
made a
Megyn Kelly.
distinction on her show that nobody asked
Yeah.
for, that the
Nobody asked for
technical difference in between people who want to have sex with young children and people who want to have sex
It's
with teenage girls.
Horrifying. that
Why
they
even
said
bring it
that.
up? It's not even brought. But you know what's Mark made a good point that I want to circle back to because
Yeah.
it is an ongoing investigation since last week. It was closed. It was a closed
Please say
investigation
this. Please
by
say
the
this.
Department of Justice.
During
The Department of Justice closed the Pam Bondi announced the investigation was closed. During the Biden administration, Ghislaine Maxwell was maxing out appeal after appeal and
Yeah.
going through her entire process. So obviously you couldn't unseal grand
Yeah.
jury documents that were under seal. But
Yeah.
the investigation itself, Pam Bondi made an announcement that it was closed and there was nothing to see here. So it is quite interesting now that the investigation is right back open. And I'm just curious, like, how does something like that happen? What new information could have possibly come up?
that she said 5 times.
She said information. She said it like a broken robot. Information. I follow the
What do you
law.
think it
Information.
is?
Information.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have hit the nail on the head, right? Like there is, as I get older, I'm not saying I've become more jaded. I think I've always been somewhat jaded. But as I get older, like part of it is that there's a percentage of people that will always do the right thing.
Amen.
There's a percentage of people that always will do the selfish thing or the wrong thing, right? And there's a percentage of people, probably the largest percentage of people, that will usually do the right thing and will sometimes do the wrong thing. And the external incentives that push them into one or the other are the things that change everything. Now, Pam Bondi is almost always going to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, seems like it.
But in this case, one of the reasons why she's face saving, right? She's attempting to save face. And I'm not making a comment on her appearance. That is not that's not what I do. But I think she is attempting to save face. That that there is a reason for doing this. And one of the things that you guys are good at is asking about why these things happen. And I think I'm going to reveal a little bit of my personal philosophy here,
Please.
which is that because people are good, most people are good mostly, but it's the incentives that push them into one or the other. It's why you have formerly fantastic people like relatives of mine who suddenly are okay with people being, dragged out of their homes without due process. They're not different people. They're still the same people. It's just that their incentives are all wrong. There was I can't remember, I'm going to apologize, I can't remember who wrote it, but you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true. But you also start adopting the opinions of the 30 people you spend the most time with. And if you're around enough people that will give you grief for having an opinion, you don't push back. The strong incentive is to not push back. The strong incentive is to just lay low. When I was working at Legal Aid doing domestic violence law, one of the things that was most distressing to me were family members of abuse victims, whether they're young or they're older victims, but family members who wanted them to just swallow the allegations so that external things aren't ruined. And it's going to really mess up everything, right? Like it's going to, because I think we're as human animals, we're devoted to not having to stress too hard or not having to reinvent the wheel. And so when you ask, like, why does someone like Megyn Kelly do something like this? Why do my uncles who are now MAGA do things like this? It's because they have been incentivized by wanting not to change things, too much. Once you become devoted to that, there was a couple of studies. One was quoted by the Washington Post that when you confront people with factual reasons why their opinions are wrong, they tend to double down. They don't actually accept the new info.
I've read that.
I'll say that about me too.
If I may, I feel like what you're saying parlays exactly into what my little diatribe a minute ago about weak men.
Yeah.
And we built 2 millennia of this.
Well, they didn't come to the conclusion with facts, so facts aren't going to back them out of the conclusion.
Now, one fact we do have right now is that we have another beautiful guest that has to come in who's also a fellow comic. But I would love if at some point, if you're in Barcelona, is there any way we could have you here in the studio?
Yeah, we need to have you back. We didn't give you anywhere near enough time.
To come in.
I mean, 16 minutes to 17 minutes is not enough time, obviously.
No, not at all.
So we had...
Well, I only have like 6 jokes, so we've already...
well, you bring the other 4 really with you, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
And bring the kids. Bring the kids. I want to meet the kids.
Mark, listen, it was really great talking to you, man. And you're going to help me with my retirement plan, which is to become a stand-up comedian. So we'll talk more about that as well on the next show. And
but you want a job that pays.
Yeah, well, that's true. He'll be getting a pension though, but you know Nancy.
Yeah, you don't want to fall back into the entertainment industry. Like that's not the secure position.
Fair. So Mark, we'll catch you next time, and we'll book you on the very next thing possible. Thank you so much for your insights.
Hopefully in person.
Can't wait to see you again.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Take care, gents.
Take care, Mr. Dabong. All right. Eduardo, a question, sir. Can you throw in una cancioncito rápidamente? Like the intro, perhaps?
So that we don't have somebody walking in and somebody leaving off the screen, and Mark.
Kids, we'll be right back with Nancy Goldstein and Mark. Power to the people, man. Thank you so much,
man. We appreciate you coming on for us.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racism, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of imposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Oh, yeah. That is a shout out to MLK as well. It's the beautiful speech, but as well to Mark Dabong and treasurer of the DA here in Spain.
In his personal capacity.
In his personal capacity. As we all are. But we are now joined by...
all messed up from that.
That was nothing to do with that delicious salty peanut protein bar.
It's a good joke today.
It's coming out again, man. Okay, the power of Christ compels. Nancy Goldstein, thank you so much for being here. Professor Goldstein, as well
thank you for being back.
Beloved comic here on the scene with the Gangsta Lean here in Barcelona.
Somebody else I need to teach me how to be a stand-up comic for when I retire.
Because he was just talking about that.
Yeah.
And,
oh my God, those headphones
I need
really
you to put your
me up.
professor hat on, please, ma'am. I wear it. I've sounded like this since I was 6 years old, Lucas. It made me incredibly popular in junior high.
Right. I can see you got a lot of hall monitor gigs.
were you? Wait a minute. Okay, I have to ask.
No, I'm a... What?
Were you a theater kid?
I was not.
Oh, okay.
I was so isolated that I was not even a theater kid. Now that I do comedy in Barcelona, I'm meeting all of the other people who sing and dance and were theater folks. But I'm serious when I say that I spent most of my early life getting high and coming out and reading novels.
Okay, that was kind of my life.
Time well spent. I feel
but
like
I was it was fun. Like high school was fun.
Being true to yourself, enjoying yourself.
I was not enjoying anything. I would say that I'm one of those people for whom later life is a good thing.
Hell to the
okay.
Right.
Well, no, because if you're coming out and growing out at that same time.
I am 64 years old.
Child.
Let's just say that the 60s in suburban Philadelphia.
We could flip ages.
Yeah, the 60s in suburban Philadelphia were not a great time to be an obviously gay kid.
Of course not.
Were you obviously?
Okay.
Well, I think that what people and people still indicate is that I look and sound Jewish. to them, right? So I think, so people would say to me when I was growing up, and by the way, I grew up in Arlen Specter, Philadelphia. And for you youngins, Arlen Specter was a Republican Jewish senator back when there were no Republican Jews.
Yeah, okay,
Right?
wow.
It used to be a source
From
of incredible
Pennsylvania?
shame that you would have anything to do with the Republicans. But I grew up in
Bring that back. We should bring
suburban
that back.
Philadelphia. In 1972, I was the only kid in school who was voting for McGovern. You know, and people would say to me while I was growing up, "Are you a New Yorker? Are you a New Yorker?" And later, when I moved to New York in 1997, I was like, "Yes, I am the geographic equivalent of transgender. I was supposed to have been born in New York City,
sure.
or in Brooklyn particularly, and instead I was born in the suburbs of Philadelphia because clearly I was bad in a past life." But I think that what people were commenting on were a combination of me being obviously queer, obviously Jewish, obviously mask, and that was their word for it.
You know, you made a fair point. I just kind of jumped in there with my millennial take. Like, yeah, in the 90s, that would have been great to be getting stoned and reading books and coming out. In your time, not so much. So.
Well, but I think you're
My
also
mistake.
talking as a straight white man,
Yeah,
and I don't
true.
say that as a. I'm not. I don't think that's a dirty label, but I think
It's a correct one.
I think that the Epstein files really highlight the very different realities we're all living in, and I think
Please.
that if straight men wanted to score points with the women that they know, a good question to start with would be: Are you surprised?
Okay.
Because the answer from every woman I know is no.
Surprised by the
No.
cover, like the way it
I'm
was
not.
silenced.
I am not surprised that young women are trafficked.
Right.
I'm not
No.
surprised that being a young woman involves involuntary sex. I'm not surprised that men and powerful people have always consolidated power by the exchange of women between them, what we call the traffic in women. So I have to say that anybody, what I find fascinating about the Epstein files, I want to say a couple things to listeners.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of them is that the Epstein files could have been released at any point by President Joe Biden or by President Trump. No need for congressional approval, no nothing. They could have released them. And obviously the reasons for not releasing them are, quote, political. So the news that Trump, who has gone to incredible ends to prevent them from being released, is now, quote, releasing them. I want to point out the difference between the headline in the New York Times and the headline in the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, who has business in front of
Yeah.
Trump.
And
And
look
that
what he did
is,
last night.
and that is that the New York Times made it clear from the beginning that the, quote, release of the Epstein files would come with loopholes, whereas the Washington Post and other media outlets with business in front of Trump, which is most of them, did not. The moment Trump says that he's okay with something moving forward that he has blocked in every way possible is our sign that he will have his Justice Department, led by his handpicked Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who is persecuting his political enemies
Left
and in
and right.
all sorts of ways flouting the conventions of being an Attorney General. The people's lawyer, allegedly, is that he has obviously he has nailed everything down. Bondi will redact anything having to do with, quote, ongoing investigations. We have not seen the Epstein files. We will not be seeing the Epstein files unless there is a groundswell from the senators and the politicians. Unless there's a groundswell from
and
his
if I
supporters
may-
and politicians, we are not going to see fuck all about what is actually in those files. And we know what's in those files because he's worked so hard to prevent them from being released.
Yesterday, they started
absolutely.
an investigation. They've started some investigation in the Senate committee to saying, okay, we already know that there's obvious tampering in these files.
Right.
So they're already making that a known thing. Well, we were asleep. This started happening last
1,000
night.
FBI agents, Bloomberg reported it, were looking for
Exactly.
him and redacting. We have a Justice Department official on hidden camera saying that exactly what they would do is be redacting Republican donor, Republican politician,
Correct.
powerful right-wing names, and leave the rest in there for everybody.
Can we circle back to something you said? Because there's
I
a
do too. I
statistic that you mentioned. You were not surprised.
No.
We're not surprised. And I would like to also say that before most girls in Spain have hit 18, 40% of them have been sexually harassed or violated.
40% of them who will say
Who will
so.
say
so, yeah.
And I
100% of women have been sexually harassed. And
It's
I
the way
personally
they
do
perform,
not.
absolutely.
I personally do not know any women who have not had a moment where someone tried to physically force sex on them, including not taking no for an answer, pressuring them while drunk. So those statistics,
Using power dynamics.
I find those statistics very sketchy. My personal experience, again, at the age of 64, and having been, as someone who partners with women, who's had women friends for a long time, I do not personally know any women who someone has not tried to have sex with against their will, frequently using some form of violence, myself included. So,
The term
this
is
is
rape
the part.
culture, right?
Rape
That's
culture.
what
Rape
feminists
culture
have come
is.
out with
It shouldn't even be a feminist term. We
I'm saying
live.
who coined it.
We live in a rape culture. We live in a culture where that woman in France, whose name escapes me at the moment,
Her husband.
her
with the-
husband
yes.
drugs her,
Oh, my
and
fucking
70
God.
men go in front of a judge and swear that they believed that she was pretending to be asleep instead of heavily drugged. So,
Disgusting.
this
So
is,
something
I think,
happened to the husband, but not to those 70 men, right?
oh no, they were all convicted, and the one who
Awesome. I
appealed
didn't know that.
got a tougher sentence. But men need to understand, I think in the same way that white people need to understand, that black people do not say to us, our black friends do not say to us, do you know every time we go into a store that I get a side eye that you don't get, that I get questions that you don't get,
Followed.
that I get followed like you don't get? Because part of, I think, what is causing the mental health crisis for women, for people of color, for marginalized people, is a perpetual culture of gaslighting. And I don't think it's always intentional, right? What we think of first is, what is our experience? And you, Robert, if women have not come to you and said, do you know that every time I walk in the dark, I've got my keys between my hands?
They have.
Do
They choose the bear.
Right. Do you know? Do you know that so and so tried to fuck me when I was 16? Do you know that so and so? Right. Like, we don't live in a culture where these conversations happen, and I think the natural human assumption is that what has not happened to me is not happening to everyone else, and this is why women and queer people, and I think people of color, have the capacity for a different kind of empathy than people who simply don't live in that world.
I'm so glad you're
Or have
fucking saying
connections
this.
to it. I mean, if you don't have
We are connected in
women-
this world.
Yeah.
We have connections. It is the denial of the choice to not want to see those things, I believe. And specifically, it goes back to what I was unfortunately diatribing to that gentleman, was that if you've been given 2 millennia of not having to do it, not having to see it, not having to do the work, not having to tap into anything, and strength is physical, you don't give a shit. You do not see it. How many times I've had to tell my university students what their girls have to go through just to get home, talking about the keys, talking about the checking in to make sure that their sisters got in okay, because boys don't think about that shit. And when you live life perpetually for
Yeah.
decades and decades and decades, it never even bothers their mind. It doesn't even come to their mind what it costs to be a woman to keep shit going, because they can just run their hands through their greasy hair and put a hat on and go. And there's an element that every time many women have to get, all women, when they go out, there's that spiritual, emotional armor that has to go out many times as well, just to confront the fact that half of society, plus, if you're a lesbian or queer, want to fuck you.
Well, yeah.
Because you're a hole.
So I think, I had a sort of I would call
And
it a
that
radical
shit
empathy
is
change.
sick.
A radical empathy change in the beginning of Trump taking power. And what kind of...
Which year?
So...
2016?
16. So what I meant is what I can point back to exactly where I just this entire concept of how I viewed things way closer to how you view them now started for me around the Me Too movement and the victims of Trump and grab him by the pussy. And then the biggest one was Christy Blasey Ford during the Kavanaugh trial.
That's right.
Because this woman was completely credible. She went to the FBI, she went to Congress, she swore under oath, and she was being slandered constantly. And so it just made me think, internally, and reverse myself on have we just been always doing this?
Yes.
And we
here's the
have.
filthy fact that the senator who prevented testimony during the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas hearings, who prevented testimony from other women who could attest to having been sexually harassed by Clarence Thomas,
Yeah.
was a senator named Joe Biden.
He's
He was
apologized for that, but yes, that's wrong to do.
How sweet of him.
Yeah. You can only admit
look,
you're wrong.
if you want to come across as a defender of women and a defender of black women, then when you have a female black vice president, you support her, you prepare her for the presidency, you let her run for a second term as you promised you would in the first term, instead of blocking her the entire time. So, Ntozake Shange in For Colored Women says, I can't wash my car with your tears. I can't do anything with your apologies. I don't want to hear, I want to see a difference. Why is it that the two women in the press who asked Trump specifically about the Epstein files, one of whom, and about Mr. Bonesaw, one of whom is told she's rude, one of whom is called Miss Piggy. Why are those two women? If men want to show any kind of empathy, let them fucking put their asses on the line. Ask the questions. Ask your women. Ask the president.
Well, they should have. Yeah, they should have. When the president does something so insane like that, your collaborators, your fellow reporters should stand up for you and either walk out or do something. But no, I agree with you that there's not enough of an emphasis on how dangerous it is to be women.
Oh, there's plenty of emphasis. There's just a lot of men ignoring it. Right?
Yeah, right.
It's not that there's not enough attention, Rob. It's kind of like people are like, if there's a phrase I could delete from the world, it would be, "This is our wake up moment." Because
fair.
when Trump does this, when Trump brings the National Guard into cities and tries to, I mean, the end game with Trump is going to be a martial law.
It's going to get
always
worse
has
too.
been. Oh yes, it's
Especially
going to be
now.
the airports are going to shut down.
I mean, he's a fascist, so yeah.
Right.
Definitely not a crime.
Right. And by the way, Franco died 50 years ago,
Yesterday,
2 days ago, and polls in Spain show that 20 to 25% of young people in Spain have a positive view of Franco's regime. There is no such thing as there's not enough information out there, my friend.
There's too much
There is
information.
not any problem with enough information being out there. It's whether or not people want to see it and hear it. And the answer is that those of us who do, and people who don't will not. So the most interesting thing about the Epstein sex files is, what purpose do they serve for the people who have backed Trump to every moment until this point? Because we know it's not that people care about what happens to young women or girls or power. It's an off-ramp for people who have been pissed off with him all along and don't want to concede that they were wrong about any of the other stuff.
Right. Which we should give people off ramps.
They have had so many off ramps.
But so my thing is, the way we can defeat the fascists is to crow to support. And I screw.
MTG. I want to know what your thoughts are on MTG.
I want to hammer home that we have to throw acid on his support base. And so what I mean by that is just make sure that there's a gap between them, so he can't succeed in his martial law schemes, so he can't succeed in converting the federal government into a fascist entity. So that's just all I mean from that.
I completely disagree. I never think about changing Trump's heart or mind.
No, not him.
And I don't think his supporters matter. Now let's switch a little bit. And so again, let me stick a pin in this. The Epstein files are not about to be released. They will be heavily redacted. Bondi and the Justice Department will gum them up while continuing to look. Trump made it clear that he had a couple of goals with his second presidency: enriching himself and persecuting his enemies and making sure there will never be a regime change. And I believe he advertised that.
First two are done.
Right. And people voted for him. What will change, quote, change what is happening is what corporations do, right?
And they're bending the knee.
And they are bending the knee. So what will matter is what people who really have the money and power do. And that's when we're talking about Jeff Bezos of Amazon, when we're talking about Mark Zuckerberg and Washington Post, thank you, and Mark Zuckerberg
Ellison.
And Larry Ellison.
That demon man, Larry Ellison.
Can you just tell people who Larry Ellison is?
He runs Oracle.
Oracle. Well, he's also the owner of CBS, and he's about to.
CBS is what I mean.
He's also going to buy CNN, and he wants to get rid of two of my favorite anchors on there, Breonna Keeler, and the other. My sister, her name escapes me right now, but because they are the biggest, Aaron Burnett.
All of Warner Brothers.
Women.
All of Warner Brothers with Bonesaw money, by the way. They're going to take old Bonesaw's billions and combine it with his CBS and the the
Viacom.
and then some Qatari billions. They're gonna buy out all the possible media entities.
What do
that they
we
can.
do to fight that then?
Right. And the problem, I just want to say, is certainly fascism and authoritarianism. But the problem is a bunch of men who don't want to go to jail and want to enrich themselves.
Yeah,
this
without
is
doubt.
what Hamas and Netanyahu and Trump are about. These are three entities who do not want to see, quote, peace in the Middle East because it
Without
means
doubt.
that they will be brought in front of international criminal courts. So it's not about authoritarianism versus democracy. We are talking about the consolidation of a certain kind of male power and immunity.
And again, Putin has a trump of Donald Trump sucking someone's ding dong.
This is what-
Allegedly, yeah, I believe it because it's not impossible that that's not true. But the thing is, you were saying that the powerful try to consolidate power
And they are
between
men.
abusing women.
Exchanging women.
99.9999999%, of course.
It's just a side.
Yeah.
It's just a side perk.
Right.
Right.
Was
We're
Netanyahu
talking-
at the White House recently? Was he in the States?
Yeah, he was in the States and he wasn't arrested. And
As
so
was
let's talk a
Putin.
little bit about this
Mamdani
thing with
about
Mamdani the other
Yes,
day.
and we only have about 2 to 3 minutes, but
Okay,
let's please.
Yeah,
so
but
so yesterday
Yorkers,
Trump welcomed Mamdani,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm proud to have voted for as
We endorsed
New York's socialist Muslim mayor. Again, I'd like to put in a pin in the fact that I am Jewish
Amen, sister.
and that the
Thank you for
majority
saying
of
this.
Jews voted for Mamdani, a young socialist Muslim mayor who has very strongly stood up for a real peace in the Middle East, which will have to have something to do with treating Palestinians like human beings
Hello.
and stopping the
course.
genocide there.
Yeah.
So
They have
let's
to-
stop pitting people as
People-
though
right, people
our
first.
ethnicity means that we support the people who have commandeered power in our countries.
What are your thoughts on last night, though, at the Oval Office?
Yeah.
Which part of it?
Well, because I thought it was absolutely brilliant for
Say
Mamdani
what
to
happened.
do that. Where
So
Mamdani
Mamdani-
visited Donald Trump in
and
the
called
Oval
him a
Office.
fascist to his face.
And
why do you
absolutely-
think Trump allowed him to do it? I'm interested in your thoughts, Robert.
Why Trump
Why
allowed him
did
to do
Trump
it?
allow
Because
it to
Trump is
happen?
very susceptible to flattery. Trump is very, and I don't mean flattery. Mamdani obviously stood his ground and had a conversation with him, but he's so desperate for approval and so desperate to be loved that, like, if you're a smart politician, who I believe Mamdani is very smart, decided, why start day one of my mayoral term at war with Donald Trump? Why don't I at least make the attempt to pacify? So, like, there are going to be less immigrant families having their lives ruined by ICE because Mamdani had a conversation with Donald Trump. And that he didn't endorse him, he didn't kiss his ass, he didn't do this Republican thing where they all go around a table and say, "Oh, sir, you're the best president ever." Why Donald Trump fell in love with him anyway? Because he clearly fell in love with him. It's
I
because
think he's a closet case, but yes.
I
He's
want to leave
charismatic.
your listeners with three thoughts.
Yeah,
please.
One of them is that Trump is like the cat who stalks across your kitchen floor because they're not aware of the fact that they are not covered by foliage. You know, your cat does that adorable thing where it's like,
Sure.
Trump, when it is convenient for him, will bring forces into New York. This is not going to stop anything from happening with Mamdani. The second thing I want to say to your listeners is that you should be following the following four people if you are interested in what I think of as genuine news in this country. You should be following Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Instagram. You should be watching Mamdani. You should be reading Heather Cox Richardson's Letters to an American, which is free for you in Substack. But for God's sake, spend the $50 and support the woman. She's the single best explicator of American news and American politics in the world today.
great, yeah.
And she includes links to all of her stuff because she is a researcher and understands the
Historian
importance
and
of
brilliant
backing what she says. But don't listen to all of this fluff about the Epstein files are going to be released. Watch what he's doing in the meantime. Boycott Amazon. Boycott Home Depot. Boycott Target because they allow ICE to run ads, because they are donating billions to Trump so that they'll get tax cuts. Speak with the language that you have in capitalism. Refuse them your money and your patronage because that's what they care about at the end of the day.
And that is the way shit works now.
Couldn't have said anything better
And we're
myself.
going to have to
Thank
close it up right there because we've got other stuff to do. Nancy Goldstein, thank you so much, my love, for
Thank
being
you
here.
very
you.
much.
Happy to
Taking
come
my
back and
truth
continue
bombs.
more
Yeah,
conversation.
you know we're going to be bringing this up. We have so much more to do. We didn't even get to half of it.
How to be a stand-up comic. I mean,
There we
it's
go.
an
That's the other
hour.
part.
It helps if you're funny to begin with.
Yeah, well, that's what I got to work on.
Folks, let's talk about this on the flip side because everybody knows this is some Tory Sparks and we love you. We will see you on the flip side as well. Remember, register to vote if you're from the U.S. You can do that
Yeah.
at votefromabroad.org. Power to the people. Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
Everybody knows
Yes.
that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows that the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. And everybody knows. Everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows that the captain lied. Everybody got this broken feeling, like the father or the dog just died. Everybody talking to their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long stem rose. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that you love me, baby. Everybody knows that you really do.